We're at a critical point in Illinois history. There's a fundamental battle raging for the future direction of our state. Question is, are we going to stay in decline under Speaker Madigan and President Cullerton and the legislators that they've got a power grip on that they control? Under Madigan and Cullerton, we've had rising taxes, we've had declining family incomes, we've had loss of jobs, and we've had our school funding cut. They've been doing this to the people of Illinois for years. Are we going to stay on that track, or are we going to go in a new direction with more jobs, rising family incomes, properly funded schools, and value for taxpayers, especially property taxes? Property taxes are our worst. Madigan and Cullerton have controlled the legislature for years and years. They've controlled a lot of the legislators. And today I'm here to ask the legislators here in Southern Illinois and around the state, are you going to stay loyal to Madigan and the Chicago political machine? Or are you going to vote for your district, vote for the homeowners, taxpayers, school children and their parents, working families? Are you going to work for the families, or are you going to stay loyal to Madigan and Cullerton and the Chicago machine that they control? This is about the Chicago machine running the state versus the people. Madigan says he's trying to help the middle class. It's baloney. He's not helping the middle class in Illinois. He's protecting the political class. Who's doing well in Illinois? The politicians that Madigan controls are doing well. The lobbyists that Madigan controls. A lot of those lobbyists in Springfield, I've learned, used to work for Madigan. Some of them still work for Madigan. He controls the lobbyists, the special interest groups, the folks who make their money from government, and Madigan himself and Cullerton make millions of dollars from high property taxes in Illinois. It's a broken system. It's benefiting the insiders. It's not benefiting the working families of this state. So it's a question for the legislators. Are they going to stay under the thumb and under the control of Madigan, or are they going to vote for the people? Term limits. 8 years is plenty in office. Term limits on the politicians. Redistricting reform so we can have fair maps, so the districts actually reflect the population and we can have competitive general elections again rather than manipulated, dishonest general elections. Control on property taxes, property tax freeze, and let local voters decide whether property taxes go up. Our property taxes are brutally high. Madigan and Cullerton like high property taxes. They make millions of dollars on the side from their law firms through tax appeals. They have a conflict of interest. It's a corrupt system. The insiders are benefiting them. Homeowners are getting punished in this state because of Madigan and Cullerton. Do we get the legislators away from Madigan and Cullerton and vote the right way or not? That's what this is about. And it's not about Democrats versus Republicans. That's not what it is. It's about good government versus bad government. It's about the taxpayers versus the insiders. It's about Madigan and the political class against the middle class. That's what this is about. And we're here to let the voters know, the people of Illinois know, the people in Williamson County and in Carbondale and Mount Vernon and everywhere around the state, that this is a key turning point. Get involved. Tell your legislator, whether they're Democrat or Republican, tell them you vote for the turnaround agenda. Let's get term limits, redistricting reform, property tax freeze, and let's change the regulations on businesses, workers' comp and tort reform, so that trial lawyers aren't making millions and pushing our jobs out of the state. Let's help small business owners compete so they're here creating good jobs. That's what this is about, and that's why we're going to win this, and I appreciate the chance to get that message out for all of your viewers and your listeners.
Governor, I was at the Hardin County Work Camp this morning, and I was with State Representative Brandon Phelps, who, as you know, is a Democrat. And he actually said he expected this out of Governor Quinn, the closure, but not from you. What do you have to say to that?
You know what? We have a crisis in the state, and we've got to look at how we manage through this crisis. We've got an unbalanced budget. We've got an unconstitutional budget. We've been spending money that we don't have for years. And this crisis, having to look at facilities and look at programs, this was created by Madigan and Cullerton and the legislature. The legislature passed a phony budget, unbalanced budget last year. They've financed another unbalanced budget this year. The legislators need to decide, are they going to bring financial discipline and responsibility and spend what we have, or are they going to keep spending us into oblivion with unbalanced budgets and causing the kind of crisis that forces facilities? I don't want to cut. I don't want to have to close facilities. I don't want to do that at all. But they have caused this. Madigan and Cullerton, the legislature has caused this by their financial mismanagement. We're going to fix it and clean it up.
Your numbers are wrong.
And the Hardin County Work Camp is the largest employer in the county. So where does that leave folks in Hardin County?
What we're going to do is get a balanced budget and deal with the financial crisis that we've got. We have got to live within our means. And we're going to be looking at every type of issue. We're going to be looking at facilities thoughtfully, programs, departments. We're going to be cutting back where we can. We're already cut the governor's office 10%. Here's something that your viewers should know. We cut our governor's office budget 10%. We've cut the comptroller's office 10%. The legislature hasn't cut their budget 1 penny. They have not cut. The legislature has not cut their own budget. They've supported me in cutting our budget. They don't cut theirs. When you're not willing to cut your own budget, you're being dishonest, and that forces closures. That forces for cutbacks in other areas. And if they were sincere about having a balanced budget and growing our economy, they wouldn't have voted against workers' comp and tort reform, because if we made those changes, we could grow and we'd have the money to fund our facilities. They aren't being honest about what's really going on, and the legislators have to choose loyalty to Madigan and Cullerton and the Chicago machine, which has run our state into a ditch, or are they going to work for the people in every county again? That's what we've got to change. That's what's got to happen.
One of the many bills on your desk right now involves decriminalizing marijuana, or small amounts of marijuana. Could you offer your thoughts on that bill?
Well, the legislature passed hundreds and hundreds of bills this spring. I think it was like 400 or more. It's amazing how many bills. I haven't studied every one yet. The reality is we have a crisis. We have a pension crisis. We have a debt and deficit crisis. We have a facilities crisis. We've got to fix the crisis. Now, the legislature passed a lot of bills. One of them is on that issue. I'm not going to comment on it today. They passed another bill. They passed was making sweet corn and pumpkin pie like our official vegetable and food. You know what? I love sweet corn and I love pumpkin pie passionately. But you know what? They're spending their time on those kinds of things when they could have dealt with pension reform, job creating reforms, term limits, redistricting reform. And that's why, you know, a lot of folks say to me, Governor, you're asking so much. You want to do so much so quickly. And I say, really? Everything that we've got is in 5 bills. And they've been introduced, 5 pieces, 5 bills. They passed hundreds of bills about sweet corn and sweet potato pie and drugs and a lot of other things. And they can't deal with the 5 things. You know what? That's not so much. We need to focus and have discipline and change the direction of the state. This is about the future of Illinois. Are we going to grow and reduce the tax burden, or are we going to be in decline like under Speaker Madigan and President Cullerton?
Last question. Democrats have said that you're unwilling to sit down with them to communicate. How are you planning on working with them this summer through such a difficult time?
That is such baloney. It's so interesting to see the spin from Madigan and Cullerton. So we have been negotiating with them for months in good faith. And then it became clear when they walked away from the table and said causation and workers' comp is off the table, that they weren't negotiating in good faith at all. And we have dozens of recommendations that we've made to turn our state around and grow the economy and reduce the tax burden. We've taken almost all those off the table. We've eliminated dozens of things that we're recommending, and we've just gone down in the spirit of compromise. We've reduced them to 5 items. Term limits, redistricting reform, property tax freeze and local control of property taxes, and regulatory reform on businesses. We've taken everything else off the table in the spirit of compromise. Madigan and Cullerton have had 0 compromise. No compromise on anything. They are not negotiating in good faith, and they're just trying to force a tax hike, and we won't allow that to happen.
To be clear, have you
Thank you very much.